I love the bio you sent, by the way. That was great.
Oh, thank you. It's always hard writing about yourself, isn't it?
Right.
like, but then when someone else writes about you, you're like, well, that's not accurate. That's not how it happened. That's not the facts. But it's always weird to put thoughts about yourself on paper. But
it's even weird. It's even weirder talking about yourself, I feel like.
It is weird talking about yourself.
Yeah. Because you don't want to like toot your own horn.
But
although,
you should.
Yeah. But
you should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially you.
Talk about me.
I know I'm learning more as I get older, right? That it's like, it's good to empower yourself and to empower other people and stand up for what you believe in and to really spread your word, right? It's important to do that. So I've always felt that it's kind of insightful, I guess, to say, but when I'm not here anymore, right? Like when my days are done and I've lived a full life, I want to have left a footprint in this world. And how are you doing that? Are you leaving a footprint just within your own family? Are you leaving a footprint within your community? Is it statewide? Is it nationwide? Like how many people can you impact? So I live every day thinking, how can I make a difference and have someone look back many years from now and say, oh, wow, I remember when Kyla did this and she impacted my life or she impacted someone's life that I knew. I just want there to be me.
I can confidently say that you are making an impact on lots of people's lives just through what you're doing with the foundation.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
It was amazing attending the Ryan Callahan Foundation event at Armature and seeing you completely run with the show. Like you ran it and it was so much like passion and drive in the words that you were using and saying, and Steph was crying and I ended up crying. And it really, you could tell that you believe in what you're doing. And it was really cool to see you just run with it.
Thank you. I know I'm so passionate about what we do. And I mean, that's the reason why Ryan and I give back to the community and we work with the pediatric cancer patients and their families is because it gives joy to myself. It gives joy to Ryan. And we're just doing it for ourselves. We're not doing it for other people. I mean, at the beginning, we just started, we became an official 501c3 for a tax write-off, to be honest. We did it because we wanted to give back to the community and I didn't care if anyone cared what we were doing or knew or were involved or wanted to find out more information about us. It was just us doing what we want to do. And then as we continued to do that, we realized that we were making an impact and other people were noticing and caring and wanting to get involved. So it's kind of naturally grown in that sense. But I mean, at the beginning, we just do this because this is what I like to do.
I love that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want me to start from the beginning?
Yeah, let's just jump right in. Tell us from the beginning.
So Ryan and I lived in New York City for 8 years because he played for the New York Rangers. And at that time, we were involved with the Garden of Dreams Foundation, which is the nonprofit that is affiliated with the New York Rangers. So I did a lot of work with them. I also served on the Madison Square Boys and Girls Club. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that nonprofit or not, but I was on the board side of that, of planning and doing events and functions. And I would see little snippets of the people being involved in the community and working directly with the kids. And I didn't really have that opportunity at the time with the Madison Square Boys and Girls Club. But I really craved doing that. And Ryan and I had always had a passion for giving back. And we always felt as though our purpose would be within the pediatric cancer community. And it wasn't until Ryan was traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning that we were afforded the opportunity to do so. So Mr. and Mrs. Vinnick, who are the owners of the Tampa Bay Lightning, which everybody knows in Tampa, they're fantastic people. They allowed us to naturally grow and give back. They were kind of like, do what you need to do. We are here to support you. And we want to see you make a difference.
That's awesome.
So at the beginning, Ryan and I were like, oh, great. Where do we start?
Yeah.
Where do we start with this? So the Lightning Foundation was so fantastic. And they were like, why don't you start with the suite at half the Lightning home games? So we're like, sure, that's great. So we started with that. We worked with 4 local nonprofits at the time: the Children's Cancer Center, the One Voice Foundation, NPCF, and BNB, which is now called Beat CC, Beat Childhood Cancer. It's a neuroblastoma based nonprofit. They're fantastic. You should look them up if you don't know about them, which I also served on their board for 3 years. Anyways, so we brought families into the suite at the home games, and it was a different nonprofit every night. And I just began making relationships and having conversations with mom and dad and the children. And it was so odd because a lot of the time it would be the dads that would pull me to the back of the suite, and they would just unload their emotions on me, and they would be crying, telling me stories and how it was the first time that their family had been together within the same 4 square walls in months. Because
Really?
one parent is always at the hospital with a child, and the other parent is at home with the sibling. And there are like ships passing in the night. They never get to spend time together. So they make sure that it's okay with their oncology staff and team that they can get out for a night. And if the child's counts are high enough, they were able to come, and the whole family would come, sometimes grandparents or aunts, whoever they wanted to bring. And they were having a good time, right? Not thinking about their treatment tomorrow or the scans that they're going to have or how they're feeling yucky. They're really enjoying the hockey game. And I had an arts and crafts volunteer in the suite. So, I mean, it was like playtime in the suite. And not everyone always watched the games, but I had kid-friendly food. The Lightning cheerleaders at the time, which when they were still there, they would come up with the kids, and Thunderbug would come in, and we had ice cream sundae bars at the end of the night. So it was just this like feel good time. But also during that time, we realized that a night away is really cool, but it's not enough, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, after the game, they would come down to the locker room, and Ryan would meet them. And if they had another favorite player, we would call them in and do photos and autographs. But so how we first started was after we had the suite, which we call our Callie's Crew Suite. We decided to launch another program called our 2-4 Club, which is all play on Ryan's number. And at the beginning, it was going to be $2,000 of financial assistance per family, and then like a $4,000 family vacation trip. And that's like kind of like the basis of how that started. It's not like that anymore. So the director of the One Voice Foundation, Marianne, she came up to me and she said, I have your first family for you. And I was like, okay, great. And I didn't know what. I'm like, okay, what do I do? Where does this start? She's like, here's her phone number. Give her a call. Her child is terminal. And I was like, oh gosh, okay. How do I call a mom of a terminal patient? What do I say to her? Why would she want to talk to me, right? So I called her, and we had a good conversation, and she told me that all her son wanted to do was swim with the dolphins. I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's swim with the dolphins at SeaWorld. So it was kind of a thing, because back in the day, a child's port was actually external on their skin, where now they put them underneath, so they're more protected. So we had to go through a little bit to get him to the point where he was able to physically get in the water with the dolphins. And we made sure the whole day was set for them.
Right.
Beginning to end, and we give them spending money and the whole bit. And at the time, I gave them a large package of financial assistance too, because obviously they were struggling. Her house was falling apart. She was a single mom.
Wow.
Dad wasn't in the picture at all, which is a story that we often hear, because the stress of treatment just drives a family apart. It's just terrible. But it wasn't long after his trip to swim with the dolphins that Michael passed away. Wow. So that was obviously our first loss of a child that we didn't really get to know. We met him a couple of times in our suite, and we saw pictures. And so they asked us to attend his funeral, and we did. Ryan and I went to his funeral up in northern Tampa. And when we walked in, it was very small. It was just his family, and it was a closed casket. And next to his casket was a 20 by 30 photo of Michael kissing a dolphin. Oh. From the trip that we sent him on. And it was in that moment that Ryan and I looked at each other, and we were like, of all things, right? This whole child's life. I mean, he was 12 years old, but for every lasting memory to be would be the trip that we sent him on, right? So we were having people come up to us saying, you're the ones that sent him. That was his last happy memory as a family that they got to have. And so Ryan and I we left the funeral and we sat in the car and we looked at one another and we were like, we're making a difference. We're doing something. Like, this is actually meaningful, like a senseless trip to swim with the dolphins, where at the time we didn't know what that meant. That's actually leaving a mark on this family. So from there, we met many more children, sent them on many trips. We are giving financial assistance. So since our nonprofit is just small grassroots, we don't have the stipulations of we only give $2,000 or $2,500 per family. I really get to know a family and see what their living costs are, their monthly expenses. And from that point, we make a decision on how much money we give a family. I mean, but sometimes it's upwards of $10,000 that we'll give a family, because I mean, if you pay 1 month's rent or 2 months rent, then what's the third month gonna do, right? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen then? And if the child is truly struggling and very sick, then they're just in the depths, right? So we try to do as much as we can to give relief to families, and to bring a moment of happiness back to them without the stressors of finances and medical bills and all of those things. There's so many things, right, that a family goes through. So that started as a large portion of what we were doing. Since then, we have evolved quite a bit. We recently started a program called Kelly's Comforts. So right before the pandemic hit, I met with a woman who her son was in class with my daughter at the Academy of the Holy Names. And I had seen her now and then, but she wasn't really there a lot. And I was in music class with my baby, who's now 4, at Miss Allie's in Hyde Park Village. I love with all my heart. And there was a little boy in there, Corbin, and a dad, and he was always there. The dad was always there, and I was always there with my son. And after class one day, even though we were in class together for like 9 months now at this time, he was like, hey, does your husband play for the Lightning? And I said, yes, he does. He goes, I really admire the work that you're doing with your foundation. And I was like, oh, wow, that's great. Thank you so much. A couple of weeks later, the kids don't have school. The siblings are there, come to find out our kids are in class together. So his wife, Jessica, asked me for coffee one day. This is right before the pandemic started. And it turns out we had a long conversation, and she wanted to get involved in the nonprofit too. And so I sat down with her to see what she was thinking. And she had been absent for the past 1.5 years because she was battling breast cancer herself. She would come and go from class, and she always had crazy hair, and it was always a different wig that she had on. Nobody knew that she was battling. She's like this incredible woman. She found out that she had breast cancer when she was pregnant with her 3rd daughter. Oh, she had no idea. So she went through her whole pregnancy before she started treatment. Oh. And then after that, she came to me and she said, you know what, when we're in the hospital, or when I was in housing, because their middle child has some health issues, she's like, there really is like a neglect that I just didn't feel whole as a human being. Like, could we do something? Could we bring providers into the hospital of patients' rooms and have mom and dad get some services, the child maybe get their nails painted or something? So I was like, this is a great idea. Let me bring it to my team. And we had it approved right before the pandemic that we were going to be able to bring providers into St. Joe's, into Tampa General Hospital. Well, then of course the pandemic hit, right? So I'm like, great, now what? Right. And then when I we leave Tampa and we move back to New York, and everything is kind of like frazzled and in the air. But we made it, and we got to a point, thanks to the MLB, that they provided free COVID testing for everybody. So we were bringing providers into the homes of patients and their families. And that program happens in Tampa. It also happens up here in Rochester, New York. So families are able to have hair and nail services, their massages and facials. We have this like foot detox that they do. They get family photos taken at the end of the day. They have their makeup done. I send them meals,
I love that.
baskets, the whole thing, beauty counter products that are like natural and good. So that whole program kind of started during COVID, but it really has taken off.
So
I
does
love
Jessica
that.
run that part, or
Jessica helps me in Tampa. She does. Thank God for her. She is like an angel in disguise. I don't know how I would do it without her. And I have 2 other women that are a part of our team too in Tampa that also are just fantastic human beings that help us on the day to day. But without Jessica and her drive and her passion, she's like my missing piece in Florida. Since I can't be there all the time, she's able to continue that and to keep it going. And she shows up on my behalf to the days that they're doing their services. And then we also have like a suite at the Tampa Bay Rays game, which is now our new Cali's Crew program, since we're not affiliated with the Lightning anymore. And she'll show up on those suite days and be a part of the suite and the families. And so she's really kind of taken my place there, which is so crazy. It's like out of fate that happened. Like,
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I love your passion. And we saw that. It was so evident at the event, at the Ryan Callahan Foundation event at Armature. I mean, you got up on stage and you just, I know we were talking before, but you don't like, you have like zero nerves, it seems like, because you're so passionate about it and you just get up and you own it and you just talk about it because you are so passionate about the foundation and helping these families. And I think Ash and I developed like a woman crush on you while you were out there. We're like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And we love what she's doing. And this was the second time we attended the event, but it's just, I love what you do. And I feel like as a professional athlete's wife too, it's hard on you because you're traveling all over and you don't have that stability as maybe someone who is just rooted in one spot, who has, both parents there taking care of the kids and you have a family. So like, I love just your drive and what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, it is it is kind of like a one-man show with Ryan being in and out, but then taking care of our 3 kids and all of the things, all of their activities that they're in. Our kids are so involved in so many things. But at the same time, I've been learning how to manage being a mom full-time, running the house essentially by myself, and then also devoting time to the foundation. I try to make it a point to really pour my heart in here and in Tampa every day, and just to see what can I do more? How can I be more effective? Sometimes I feel like I get to these points where I feel like I'm not doing enough or I'm not making a difference. It's like these like peaks and valleys that happen. And I'm sure it's normal and natural for it to happen over the years. But I mean, there's times where I feel like we're on top of the world and we're impacting so many lives and families. And I feel at other times where I'm not doing a thing. And I know that's not the case, where I'm not doing anything because our programs are running in 2 states and I'm trying to reach out to new families all the time. And like, we're just here to help and give assistance, right? But sometimes it's hard to get to these people because they don't know about us, or social workers don't trust the new relationship yet, or newly diagnosed families don't want a pamphlet of information from a nonprofit that they've never heard of. Like, it's just another thing on their plate that they don't have time for. So really throughout time and just by word of mouth and people talking about us and families that we've helped to tell other families that maybe that they should send us an email or give us a call or give us a chance, that they're going to realize that we're just here for the good.
Right. Yeah. How do you keep it organized? You were saying how you're trying to do all these things, right? Did you find like anything magical that kind of like works for you, at least right now? I know everything changes, right? kids get older, their, that athletic ability or whatever they're into now changes, and the foundation grows and ebbs and flows. And have you, like, I don't know, found something that kind of helps you navigate through that and keep it all organized?
So we hired someone in Florida. Her name is Allison. She's amazing. And it was really hard for me to let go of the reins, per se, to let someone else make decisions on a daily basis, or to have someone kind of fill in my spot, to reach out to people. And I realized recently that I can't do everything. I can't be in 5 places at once. I need to let other people help. I have a hard time letting other people help me out. I want to do it all myself, because I feel like if I'm not doing it, then it's not getting done.
Right.
I'm learning that's not the case, that there are other people that do want to help and do want to get involved. So Allison has taken a big chunk of that for me. So even from like the daily, like, paperwork and stuff, that if I just can't get to it, I can send her a quick email or text and she's on top of it right away, which thank God for her. And then we have a creative director, Noor Zafari, that lives in Tampa as well. And anytime I come, I'll have these like brainstorming sessions where I come up with these crazy ideas of different programs that I want to run, or different events, or small different things that I want to do. And I kind of just like jot everything down on paper and I spew it at her, and she turns it into something.
Wow.
So that's a great partnership that we have. So I have a lot of all these ideas, and I'm like, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to execute it, but I will be there, and I'll be the driving force and the passion behind it. And I will make it a huge, successful event, but I just don't know how to get to that point. And Noor is that person.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for her. And she helps me in New York too. So nice. I'll call her, and she's making phone calls, and she actually has like various vendors that go back and forth, which is so bizarre, all these connections that are happening now to New York. So she is kind of that person for me up here too.
We all need a Nora in our life.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody needs her. She's so great.
But I think that's a good point that you made is, I feel like so many times, often as like women and moms, I feel like a lot, we think that we can do everything. But I mean, we would probably be more productive a lot of times if we delegate, or we do and trust someone to do it. And then we would be less stressed. Right. And, we deserve a little break sometimes too. But giving that responsibility to someone else, I think is a good advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's hard because as a woman, you feel like if you're not doing it and you're not being successful and at all of the facets in your life, that you're failing, right? And if you're not the best mom, if you're not going to every PTA meeting, which I do, I'm on board for school, like I'm the head of the classrooms at school. And if I'm not doing that, making sure my kids are at their activities, having all the right foods to eat, running the foundation, making sure we're present in Tampa, building a new foundation here in Rochester, New York, which is like starting from the ground up, then it's like, what are you doing?
Well, I don't know.
What are you doing with yourself?
Right. I don't know how you do it all, because it's not like, even though Ryan is now retired, he is still traveling, you said, now, just as much as whenever he was on the team. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it's less, but he's still on a travel schedule working for ESPN, and playoffs are ramping up now. So it's funny because we're talking about playoffs now, which is how we used to talk playoffs when he played, who they're going to play and what city he's going to be in for the next 7 days or whatever. And that's kind of the case now. So we're waiting on his playoff schedule and where he's going to be and what games he's going to cover, which is super exciting.
Right. Because then the kids are going to be able to watch TV and like see and hear him, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So they'll feel like they get more dad time.
Yes. Yeah, they do. They always want to know when daddy's on TV, what game he's calling. So it's very cool for them to be able to see that, because some of the kids, they don't remember when he played, and they don't remember going to all the games. And so it's funny, my 4-year-old, he'll watch the hockey games and he'll watch the Lightning and he'll be like, Daddy, is that you? And Ryan's sitting next to him.
So cute.
No, honey, that's who Daddy used to play for. Daddy doesn't play for them anymore. But
that's cute.
Yeah. But now he watches him when he does when he commentates on the game. So it's just as good.
Well, I want you to share a story. And it doesn't have to be the same story that we talked about before. It can be another story if you have another one. But I just love what you shared with us before. Whenever you and Ryan, you were married, living in New York, and just the impact of it's not super easy being even before kids, even if you don't have kids, but either having like a spouse in the military or that's an athlete and is traveling everywhere, and you're at home like managing that by yourself. And I just love the story that you shared with us whenever you were living in New York, and Ryan, you had just was it
The flood?
Yes.
Yeah.
The great flood.
Great flood. I feel like we should write a book.
Yeah.
These stories that it's just like, it's so funny because our best friends, the Girardis, who we grew up with from juniors all the way up, our careers crossed paths until we were in Tampa, Florida. It's like if something weird or bad happens, it's always the Callahans. So like, oh, there's the Callahans again. It's like something weird is happening. It must be to their house or to their family or to their children. So we were living in New York City. We were in our second apartment, which I loved so much. We were on the second floor. We had a huge outdoor space. Finally, right? I mean, space is hard to come by in New York City.
Right.
Ryan was injured, as he always was. My dear husband, who was always blocking shots and breaking bones. He was on crutches, and my family was visiting from upstate New York. And we went out to breakfast on a Sunday morning, and the city is very quiet. On a Sunday, it was my favorite time to be in the city, like totally dead. Walk anywhere, go to Central Park. It was just beautiful. So we went out to breakfast, and we got a phone call from our building when we were out to breakfast, and they said, I think that you need to come home. And we were like, okay, why do we need to come home? And they're like, something happened in your apartment. And we're like, does it involve? Because that morning when we were getting ready to go out, our toilet was kind of doing this weird bubbling noise. And we kind of just ignored it. And we're like, that's so odd. And we were like, kind of like laughing, thinking about what was happening. So we said, does it involve the toilet by any chance? And he was like, I think you just better come home. So we get in a cab, and my husband's hobbling across the city. Through the lobby, and we enter the building, and they have 3 huge construction bin garbage bags in the corner, the back corner, and Niagara Falls is coming from the ceiling. And so we looked at him, and we said, is that our apartment? And he just shook his head at us, and we were like, oh my God. Okay, so we take the elevator up to the second floor, and the door is propped open, and there's probably 3 or 4 handymen in there with mops sloshing around the water in my apartment onto my sofas, onto my coffee maker, into my bed and my clothes. What had happened was the woman or man or family or whoever was living above us was flushing diapers down the toilet for an extended period of time. And since we were on the second floor, everything came out through our bathtub.
Oh gosh.
Toilet, and there was probably 4 inches of flooded sewer water in our apartment.
Oh,
Awful.
And so we
you
were
really painted the picture, by the way. Sloshing the
Okay.
water.
I wish I should have taken a video. Like I didn't even think of it at the time. We were just like so in shock. We walked in, and I was like, my face went pale, right? To like look at what was actually happening in my home. And so we spent the night at the Girardi's house because we shared a wall with them because we're best friends. We love each other.
Well, they're lucky they didn't have any of the
Right?
water in their
They
house.
got, yeah.
Yeah. So then the next day, our apartment is still, I can't even tell you the smell in there and everything that really wasn't cleaned up yet. Ryan's like, okay, I have to go. And he went to Washington for round 1 of the playoffs and was gone for 5 days. So I talked our super at the time into letting me stay in a studio apartment upstairs, which was kind of semi-furnished, not totally. And so I took a laundry bin, like those metal wire laundry bins on wheels, and I would take all items, bleach them, and bring them up to this new apartment. Thank God we didn't have children yet.
Thank God.
And that's what I did for 5 days. And then it came to the point where our apartment was like unlivable. We had to leave. We had hardwood floors that were just soaked and warped in sewer. So I had to find a new apartment and move.
All by yourself.
All by myself. But you know what good came out of this? I didn't tell you this previously. Ryan was in the Olympics. For the first time he was in the Olympics was in Vancouver in 2010. And Ryan won a silver medal.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Right. So we had it with us in New York City, and we would show people when they came over and stuff. Well, we lost the medal.
Oh my gosh.
We had lost it. It was gone and missing for a solid year. And when I had the movers come pack me up, they found it.
Where was it?
I don't know. He said it was behind a wooden drawer in one of our, there's no way. I tore my house apart looking for that medal.
Of course.
This man I've never met before. I jumped on him. I bear hugged him. It was this like pouch. He didn't know what it was. He's like, we found this weird pouch. It was like this felt thing. You would have never known that like an Olympic medal was in there.
Right.
Swallowing this man. And he's like, what is happening? I'm like, you have no idea. I'm like, you just found my husband's silver Olympic medal.
That's
insane.
So obviously we took it, we showed him and whatever, the whole bit. Now it's in a safe.
Good.
Nobody can have that medal. But I'm like, I forgot that came out of that story, but his medal was missing for so long. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to show my kids this, that like what he won. And because then he went back in 2014 in Sochi, and they got 4th place. So I'm like, that's not gonna do any good for anybody. There's no medal.
Right. There's nothing there for that one. Yeah.
No, there's nothing there. So yeah, that's a little snip of just the daily life of all the happenings.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe if it wasn't for the flood, you would have never found the Olympic medal. So
right.
So that's a good thing.
It was a good thing in hindsight.
Right.
In
Silver lining.
Silver lining. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, the silver lining. I know. Thank you. And then we moved to another beautiful apartment for a little bit before we got traded to Florida. So
well, Kyla, you are amazing. We love you so much. We will include the information for the Ryan Callahan Foundation on our show notes to make sure everyone gets that information. I think it's an amazing organization to get the name out there. And I love what you're doing here in Tampa and then as well as Rochester now. Do you have plans to like expand to other areas
new
as well?
Programs and
so right now we're going to stay in 2 cities because it's kind of a lot. And I don't know if I can handle more than that, but we launched a new program, Rise, which is a health and wellness program at the Children's Cancer Center in Tampa. So that's the newest program we have. And then in the next few months, we're going to be launching an art therapy program.
Nice.
So excited about that. So that came out of our event in Tampa. A wonderful artist who we've been working with approached me and she's like, how do we do more? And I'm like, oh, we can do all the things. I am so excited about this. So once she's out of town right now, but when she gets back, we're gonna make a new program and we're gonna have an art therapy program to add to our repertoire. I'm so excited. So
that's
it's
awesome.
Like evolving and growing, and I need a space. I feel like I need to like buy a building and have a space. This is my future. So we have all these like wonderful programs that we're running and we're building and we're growing, and it's happening now in Rochester too. So we have different programs up here that we're doing, and it's a little bit of a slower start because I need to establish these relationships with the hospital and stuff, but it's happening and it's growing and it's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you next year at the event.
What theme should we do next year?
Ooh.
I don't know. This year's was really good.
It was super fun.
I like the discussion.
It was fun, right? I know. Well, right now we're planning our big launch gala up in Rochester because they haven't thrown an event up here yet. That is a fundraising event. I've done so many events for families, but nothing to raise money. So right now we're planning our launch event up here in Rochester, which date is to be determined because I booked a date and we're planning it. And then I realized after the end of a 3-hour meeting that Ryan has to work that day.
Oh.
Will you send me that information whenever you have it? Because we have a lot of family and friends in Rochester that I could send it to as well.
Yes, I would love to do that.
Yeah, send me that information. And then I don't know, we'll have to, if we think of any good ideas on the theme, we'll let you know.
Yes.
If we gotta do something
So fun.
I want the bigger the better.
Well, you always do a good job at that. So I'm
just
sure.
want a good time. I just want everyone to really enjoy themselves.
Yes.
Right? That's like all Ryan and I really care about. We want everyone to come, have a good time. I don't want it to be stuffy. I don't want everyone to be sitting at a table eating like a 5-course meal that they don't care for.
Right. No, definitely wasn't stuffy. It was a lot of fun.
So much fun.
You had like these awesome little round chairs going on, those lamps. What were they?
Yeah,
remember you had like ginormous lamps.
Yeah,
they were like this.
They were tulip lamps.
They were so cool.
And then we had horses.
Yeah,
the horses. That's right.
And my horse trainers from New York State, they're in Ocala for the whole winter. So they came in. And they tried to ride the horses.
That's great.
I'm sure
I was like,
probably thought about it.
Yeah, I had to walk away because I'm like, I can't see it happen.
Right.
You're gonna do it. But if you want to do it, go ahead. But no one can tell Nor, and you can't get caught. You can't break them.
And I love Cher. Cher was like a great touch.
Cher was so much fun. Oh my gosh. I wasn't sure like the dynamic of how it would go or if people would be into it. But when she came out with her thing and her performance, I was like, oh,
that was great. I love that.
Yeah.
You did a great job. So I look forward to next year.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. We'd love to have you on again sometime. And maybe whenever you're in Tampa, I know you have to come down to visit. We can meet in. Yeah, we
need to schedule another visit down there really soon. I know we're planning like an end of summer event for all of our families, kind of like a before back to school type thing.
Right.
It's kind of going to be like a culmination of our Callie's Comforts and Rise programs together. So it's going to be like a big fun event for all of our families. So that is in the works. So we'll be down for that.
Awesome.
Nice.
Do you ever feel like, because even just sitting here talking to you, like I couldn't hold tears back.
Yeah,
like how did you like get tougher over the years?
I totally lost it in October of 2019. I had a family that I was I got way too close with. And I would call mom all the time and I would just check in with them and I would pay her mortgage. I would give her like financial assistance. I sent their family to Disney for New Year's Eve. He was in and out. We gave them Christmas parties. I can't even tell you how much stuff that we did for this family. And I would be with them, right? I would meet them places. I would hang out with their family and his siblings. And it was October of 2019 and he was in the hospital and it was the end. And I would go up and visit him in the hospital and his birthday was approaching. And a family friend called me and they said, we need to throw him a party. And I was like, okay, when? They're like, tomorrow. So I'm like, okay. So I threw him this huge Toy Story themed event in the hospital.
Aww.
It was obviously before COVID, and it was in this big event space that they had downstairs. There was a Toy Story cake, decorations, there was toys, everyone came dressed up in character. And he came down in his hospital bed and I don't even know if he opened his eyes. He knew we were there. He knew that we were celebrating him. And he ended up passing away on his birthday a couple of days later. And after that, I went to his funeral. My son was born in 2017. So my son was 2 and my son's birthday is in the end of October. And I remember sitting in my house in Florida and my son was standing, barely walking right across the table from me. And I remember looking in his eyes and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't look at my son because I was putting myself in this mom's shoes of losing her son, right? And like having to look at her son for the past few years of him relapsing and deteriorating. And it was after that that I was having anxiety and panic attacks, and I couldn't look at my children. I couldn't look at my kids because I couldn't imagine my kids going through that. I couldn't imagine losing a child. Like,
Right.
it was so hard for me. And I'm not a parent of a child with cancer. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, this isn't fair. Like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. This isn't my child. But I was so close. I became so attached that after that, I stepped away from the foundation. And Ryan was like, you need to take a minute you need to step back. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to move forward from that. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get past that.
Right. So emotional.
Yeah.
It was really hard. And, I mean, I think about it all the time. And so then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get close to families. And so then I started this new thing where I was like, I'm not going to get close to families. I'm going to have a family come. It's going to be on paper. I'm going to send them a check. I'm going to send them on a trip. I'm going to put them on one of our programs, and I'm going to sit in front of my computer. I'm going to live my day. And that went on for a little bit. And I was like, this is not me. This is not my truth. I am not here to have my name on a piece of paper, to help a family go somewhere, to give them assistance. This is not who I am. This is not why I started this. So I needed to figure out the balance of how to be involved with families, to run a foundation, and to still be able to live my life. And I started to take on a new perspective. And I talked to Nora about this recently after another child that we had recently passed away. And she asked too, like, how are you doing? How are you handling this? And I said, I've learned that every family I meet impacts me and changes my life, right? Changes my course, changes my path. Are they impacting me with their story? I mean, it doesn't have to be about losing someone, right? But what they gave. What did this family give me? What did this child give me? Give my family, give my perspective. So instead of looking at it like what is being taken away from me, what am I losing? Because I'm constantly losing, right? I'm always losing, I'm always getting something taken away. But that's not the line of work that I'm in, right? So I've changed my perspective to what I have gained from a relationship.
I love that.
Yeah. It's a good way of thinking of things.
Right.
Yeah. Which I have to remind myself of that all the time, because I will easily flip back and forth.
Right.
But that is my new mantra. That is how I can get through things better without being good in therapy.
That is amazing advice. I really like that.
Yeah. Whew. Wow.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was, because I was wondering, like, as you're talking, I'm like, how does she do it? Like, you just have this like such positive energy, and you just want to help, and you just want to do it. But it's such a hard like topic and such a hard thing to do that I'm like, wow, like, I don't know how you're such a strength within you. So like, I love that you shared that, like how you get through it and how you do it.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you. You're awesome. Let us know when you're in Tampa, because I would love to get together. But
and let us know when you're going to have that event in New York. We'd love to
share it.
Just share it with everyone. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes. Well, thank you, Kyla. Have a great rest of your week and weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.